Hello everyone, this is Midna Baby, and boy do I have a lot to share with you. It's been super hard to keep my thoughts to myself, so I'm really glad I finally get to talk about my amazing experience in London and the opportunity to play the newest addition to the FF series, Final Fantasy XVI. This was the most surreal opportunity given to me by Square Enix, and I cannot thank them enough for organizing such a memorable event. I'm still in disbelief that I had a small part in the launch of this game. And by the way, you heard correctly. Me and some of my closest creator friends were flown out to demo Final Fantasy XVI in the Tower of London. And yes, Naoki Yoshida aka Yoshi P was there observing us very carefully. Anyways, I'll stop gushing about my trip because that's not why you clicked on this video. So here are my thoughts and first impressions of Final Fantasy XVI. This video is spoiler-free, by the way, and anything you see here may be subject to change in the final version of the game. The content provided to me and what I personally played is strictly for media purposes. Now, I just want to begin with my immediate impressions upon starting my playthrough of Final Fantasy XVI. I was floored by the first few minutes, no seconds of the game. There are few games, in my opinion, who can compete with Final Fantasy's aesthetic and cinematography, but this game has really set the bar to an impossible level. The character designs, details, and sounds made me question if this was really happening on the screen in front of me. I cannot emphasize how beautifully constructed some of these cutscenes were, because I almost forgot I was playing a game and had already put my controller down when the cutscene seamlessly transitioned into gameplay. The direction when it comes to the acting alone makes it feel less like a game and more like a movie. Final Fantasy XVI's setting is not only epic, but seems to be purely fantasy as well, something we haven't really gotten from a Final Fantasy game since 6, and even then, there has always been some kind of sci-fi or steampunk element mixed in. I'm personally someone who loves exploring castles, mastering sword arts, and fighting off dragons, so wielding a longsword and magical crystals is right up my alley. I could be wrong about there being a lack of technology, but I really hope it stays that way. Something I really appreciate about this game is how mature it feels compared to every other Final Fantasy in the series. We don't typically have very mature themes, but instead more lighthearted and usually an innocent atmosphere that sometimes tiptoes playfully around mature themes. The Final Fantasy series and its fans have been around for a long time, and in that time frame, we've all grown up, so it's really nice to experience a game that has also matured alongside its audience. I was especially surprised and excited to see how that maturity was translated through dialogue and character interactions as well. Summons have always had an important place in Final Fantasy titles, but they've never truly had the spotlight until Final Fantasy XVI. What I'm really excited about is how the characteristics of each icon will translate into their dominant's personalities. What do you think interacting with Garuda, Titan, or even Bahamut would be like? Jill seems to have a quiet, nurturing personality, whereas Benedicta is quite reckless and sadistic, ready to tear down anyone who gets in her way. These traits seem to align with how I view each icon based on my interactions with them over the years, and especially my experience with them in Final Fantasy XIV. I think this is such an exciting way to connect with these iconic characters who have been around for so long, and it's about time they get more recognition as actual characters rather than just weapons to be collected throughout your playthrough. Speaking of icons, I honestly feel like we needed these one-on-one battles between the icons ages ago. While there have been similar instances of these battles in previous games, they've never been this prominent or in-depth. I'm really looking forward to not just controlling the icons themselves, but seeing them at war with one another. I can only imagine how epic some of these battles will be and how personal the situations can get. I mean, can you picture how heated these conversations could be between the dominants themselves before turning into icons and battling it out? Again, I really appreciate icons having such a vital role throughout the game, and being represented in this way showcases how powerful and fearsome they truly are. By now, I think anyone who plays Final Fantasy XIV knows about Final Fantasy XVI and can tell there are some obvious similarities between the two games. I personally felt the essence of Final Fantasy XIV during some moments of my playthrough in 16, so I really hope the Final Fantasy XIV community picks up this game to experience it as well. and vice versa for Final Fantasy XVI players. From the main characters' appearances and clothing styles to the story elements and open world exploration, it's hard not to see the influence Final Fantasy XIV has on the game. That being said, there is no direct correlation between the two games as they are set in two completely different worlds, but this would be an amazing opportunity for the games to cross over in some way. Hopefully we see some collaborations between the two games after Final Fantasy XVI launches. Can we get like a Torgal minion, please? I know a lot of players aren't looking forward to real-time action, but I hope they give this combat system a fair shot because it was really fun to execute and combo these skills. There's a lot to choose from and customize, so you can really develop your own fighting style once you accumulate multiple icons and level up skills. Not only does it look flashy, it's also really satisfying to play. Everything felt really smooth, and weaving in iconic abilities with regular attacks, especially during staggers, was really fun for me. I can't wait to see how players combo and play around with the intricacies of the combat system. Something that actually stood out to me was the stagger bar. It functions the opposite way than a usual stagger bar in Final Fantasy games. So rather than building up stagger, it looked like I was depleting it instead, kind of like breaking their posture. Also, I was very excited to discover that there is a parry, and if you know me, you know I value putting enemies in their place with a successful parry and counter. I will admit though, I had a bit of trouble getting the hang of the parry and ended up spending a lot of time trying to learn how to execute it, wasting precious time I had with the game. I'll get it eventually though. However, if what I've just talked about doesn't interest you, it's no worries at all because there are several options including a story-focused mode that take the pressure off of combat and allow you to take in the sights instead. There is a lot to explore and see in Valacithia, from castles to ruins and large open lands. So when you want to take a break from the main story, there's lots to do and see, maybe help the locals or go on adventures with Torgal. If you're ever curious about something during your travels, be sure to check the active time lore section, which gives you bite-sized and relevant bits of information depending on who you're with and where you are. I think this is the most genius way to digest lore without having to run around collecting a bunch of scrolls you'll most likely never read. Providing the player with relevant, easy-to-read information with a minimalistic presentation is something all games should offer. This helps the player immerse themselves more without taking away from what they're actively doing in the game. I wish I could tell you guys more about the game and what I saw, but I've reached my limit. Anything more and I'll probably get in trouble. I'm so incredibly excited for you all to play the game, and I can't wait to pick up where I left off on stream. Thank you again, Square Enix, from the bottom of my heart for not only giving me the opportunity to play Final Fantasy XVI in London, but also the opportunity to meet so many amazing creators, the voice actors, and members of the Square team. I'll never forget this experience. I'll leave you all with this question. What icon are you looking forward to using in the game? Let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you guys on launch day.